I put a post on my community tab just a little while ago, about a week or so ago, where I was creatively stuck. And I wouldn't equate this to like a writer's block where a writer is having extreme difficulty just moving through the pages, the words. I wouldn't say that. I was still composing, I was still being creative. I creatively stuck. I I just was working on stuff and re-editing and rehashing and trying to improve pieces of music I just didn't have the heart to improve. I just didn't have the heart to continue going on with this kind of music. So this is a little bit of a change in topic, but I think this is important for creative artists. If you are a creative artist and you work with anything, whether it's writing or music or visual arts, the I think you will actually come into a little bit of this bind, this creative bind that I came up with a couple weeks ago. So I just want to give you guys just a little bit of my experience of being creatively stuck, and I hope this helps you. I hope you think back onto this conversation if you ever run into this yourself. So just to give you a little bit of context for my experience, I had finished my master's of music composition with emphasis in technology year 2014. So a little over 8 years now. Actually, it'll be 8 years this May. 8 years ago, I graduated with my master's. That's kind of crazy to think about. But it was 8 years, and I had gotten my music composition degree, and I knew I wanted to explore electronic music. I just didn't know how. So after getting my master's, I moved out of the state, lived in a new city, got a receptionist job, and I just started rethinking what I wanted to do with the music, with all the composition techniques that I had learned in school and how to apply it in whatever music. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to compose for academic music anymore or if I wanted to do something completely new. Well, the more I listened to electronic music outside that academic university setting, the more I realized, well, I want to compose that. So I had to start from scratch. I had to start all over. So I had about 8 years of higher education in composition and music education. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start from first base, just start from scratch. And so I really started exploring Logic Pro. And I started practicing and working these instruments and started like, how do I use this software? How do I use the interface? How do I use the editor? How do I use all of this stuff? And I just started slowly, bit by bit, every day, started just accruing these little sketches of electronic music. And I thought I was going to release this music 7 or 8 years ago. And over time, over the course of 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 years, I had released a lot of that music on my albums that you have seen on Spotify or whatever on my channel. But I had a good 2 hours of music of just sketch work that I wanted to beef up this year, and all the skills that I learned the last 8 years. I'm like, well, I'm going to use the skills that I learned, and I'm going to beef up the old sketches, these 7, 8 year old sketches that I think are really cool, that sound great, but it's just going to be better with my new skills. The skills that I have accrued over the length of time. With daily practice, the constant going to working on my craft, improving my craft, and all that good stuff. So, yeah. So before I compose any new music, I'm going to really home in and get these 2 hours of music of sketches that they just need to be released. I'm a prolific composer, I want to release music all the time. I want to be prolific in my creativity. So let's work on these sketches and just release these sketches. And so my last release was Bradbury Lane, and that was October. And we're in April. We're almost at the end of April, and I haven't released any music. And I thought, well, I was going to release like a couple EP albums by now. A couple EPs with these music sketches that I wanted to, beef up. And it got to the point where I was working on 4. Now 2, I do plan to release next month, but I was working on 4 tracks in total. I'm only happy with 2, and I was listening to the other, and I couldn't get the right instruments. I just couldn't get that sound I wanted, and this is not perfectionism. I just I was no longer happy. I was like, "You know what? It's not I don't think it's right to release this music." I think these little sketches served their purpose with, with just me being, building my skills and getting more familiar with electronic music in general. And so, a couple weeks ago, I did something that I pretty much would not recommend any artist to do. I would not recommend any artist, I wouldn't recommend that you do this, but, I did it anyway. And that was basically cleaning up all my Logic Pro files and cleaning up all these music products, projects, I mean, cleaning up all these projects, all these old sketches, and I'm like, "You know what? I I'll put them in an external hard drive." But honestly, I don't think a lot of them even made it to the external hard drive. I actually decided to check them. I'm like, "You know what? I don't see myself ever for the rest of my life going back to these." What I did do is I went through every single file and I'm like, "Okay, I like this instrument. I gotta make sure this instrument is saved. I like this here. I gotta make sure this is saved." But apart from that, I'm like, "You know what? I don't like the structure of these pieces anymore. I'm beyond this structure. This was me 8 years ago kind of structure. I don't like the bass line. I don't like, the harmony's really simple. I can't do much with it." And so I decided many projects were going, uh, in the trash. And that was actually something I was, warned about. A professor of mine said, "You never wanna throw away your stuff. You never wanna throw away your workmanship because you never know if you want to refer to them later for other things." And, and he said, you should save these in a file or in a drive and have them, store them for the harvest. You want sketches for the harvest for a future thing. And the more I was thinking about with these files, these projects, I'm like, you know what? I'm in my 30s. Won't be long before I'm in my 40s. I'm like, I don't see myself I don't see myself going back to these projects. And so last couple of weeks, it was, making sure I had the instruments I wanted, and then I just checked them. I just put them in the trash, and I freed up a little computer space. And and it's not something I recommend people do. This isn't a matter of perfectionism. This was a matter of, like, I need to actually compose again, because at this point in my creative experience and over the last 4 to 5 months, if I'm being honest with myself, apart from learning new skills in SuperCollider, I haven't really been composing. I've been working on that the synthwave track. That was composing, and I still need to finish it, and I plan on finishing it. But I haven't really been composing. I've been editing. Editing is not creating. Editing is part of the creative process where you're improving what you've made, you're improving what you've initially created, but editing is not the same as composing. A writer would agree with me there too. Editing is not the same as writing. It's a huge part of writing, but it's not the same as actually putting new words to the page. Editing is a very, very important part of the creative process, but it has been the part of the creative process where it's actually stunted my creative growth. I've built skills in the editing process, but I haven't implemented those skills at all in new works. And so after chucking a good amount of sketches, I actually had a sense of peace, like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. Now, I want to be very careful about my actions there because I come from a place, and this is really, really important for you guys to understand as fellow artists. I was able to do that because I work on my craft every day, and I've been working on my craft every day since my education 8 years ago. So a good 7 to 8 years of constant daily practice where I have released music and I'm about to release, more music. And it was music that I just knew in my heart and my gut, I was never coming back to. And I tried to justify, I tried to say, no, no, you gotta be prolific. You gotta release everything you make. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm getting to that point where I'm as far as my skill is concerned, I'm beyond the creativity of that said music. And if I released that music, I I came to terms with this. If I released that music, it would not be good marketing because a couple things would happen. I would release, 2, 3 small albums, and people would say, "Oh, this is her style." I'm not interested. Or maybe, "This is her style. I'm very interested." And then it's not music I want to create in the future, because the music I wanna create in the future is actually more ambient, down-tempo, experimental, but with beauty, like, melody and harmony and bass. I want all that stuff, well, the melody, the harmony, and the bass with the ambient, down tempo, cinematic, kind of like solar fields, the stuff that I really love listening to, I want to compose. And my music, while I'm proud of the music that I've released in the last couple of years, it's music I've worked on, I've experimented with, and a lot of those pieces that you hear on my albums are old sketches that I end up releasing anyway. But the stuff that I want to compose in the future, it's a creative break. It's actually a stylistic break from what you hear on those albums, and I was fighting for 4 months with that. I'm like, "No, no, just release the stuff that you have." I was like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm slowing my process down." So, it was it was good bad marketing because it was a style that I was no longer following as far as composing, as far as being creatively, making. I'm like, "Okay, you know what? I don't wanna market myself wrong either." The stuff that people hear, yeah, there'll be, like, some stuff like a synthwave track, which I don't picture myself composing for synthwave at all. I just wanted to try my hand in synthwave because I like that genre. But that's not what people should expect of me all the time as sound engraver. I wanna really work with kind of the cinematic experimental music, kind of in the way of Hans Zimmer, except very, very different from Hans Zimmer. And maybe I'll do a video on how to compose like Hans Zimmer without sounding like Hans Zimmer, or how to sound like Zimmer without sounding like Hans Zimmer. Because I know that sounds a little abstract, but there's actually a way to work with his sound or the feeling without being, totally exhausting in your sound, because his music is exhausting. But there's a way to work with experimental cinematic electronic music that is not tiring, and that is actually quite beautiful. Um, I'm highly inspired by people like Solar Fields. I don't care for every album he makes, but the albums that I do like, I really like, and I want to kind of follow that style. It's not gonna be perpetually dark all the time. It's got a darker tone, and I am, you know me, I'm bubbly and cheerful and stuff like that, and I'll have, cheerful, beautiful moments too with my music, but my style is changing, and the stuff I wanted to release this year, I'm like, "You know what? It's not working. It's just not working." So, after having come from all of that in the last couple of weeks, I started composing a new piece again, and I feel really good about it. It's not even halfway done. It's gonna be a longer track too. I might actually start composing longer tracks, like between 8 and 11 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes, depending on where the music takes me. That sounds long, but I listen to very long, um, electronic music if it is beautiful. If it's well done, if it's a really well done piece of composition, 15 to 18 minutes in length is very good for my writing. When I want to write, when I want to write my science fiction, that is a really good length. I'm no longer going to, well, not no longer, I can't say that, but I don't see myself being very short with my tracks, like 2 to 3 minutes. I don't see that. Like I'm not gonna like crunch my music to like radio, that radio slot, that time frame there. No, I really like the long, drawn out, not exhausting, not redundant, but really well, cinematically well done, dynamically well done, electronic music. So this new track, it's I think it's gonna work. I hope it works. I gotta finish it though. If I don't finish this track, that's where I know I will suffer from perfectionism. I know it's not perfectionism that I suffer. It's just it's a stylistic break. It's a creative break that I just really needed. And so that's what I mean by being creatively stuck. When you actually do practice your craft every day for years on end, and you do feel like you're kind of going in circles, that's when you need to take a step back and saying, should I release this? Should I market myself this way? If I want to do a different style, I've got to learn to actually start with that style. I've got the techniques for it. Now I just need to actually put it to the page. I need to put it down on paper. I need to put it down on my Logic Pro and work with that. Occasionally, I'll still have like the really happy, upbeat stuff. And I actually saved about 7 or 8 tracks of the sketches, but I did actually no, actually probably even more. I'll have to check, but it was a good 60-70% that I just chucked. So, hopefully that made sense. I needed to get that off my chest, to be okay with having a creative break when you're thinking, you know what, I've enjoyed working in this style, but now it's time to move on to another style. And maybe you guys will experience that when you practice every day, or if you do practice every day, you might say, well, you know what, I liked this animation style. I liked working with this kind of color scheme. I liked working with this kind of writing, this genre. But now I feel like I should do something new with the skills that I have, accumulated over the years. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Give yourself a little bit of room after you've done so many years of your art and say, okay, it's time to move on to a new thing, have a new voice, have a new sonic signature in the way of electronic music. With me, I really want to work toward a new aural signature. But yeah, feels good saying that. Let's see what you guys have to say.